stay away from men that are always trying to teach you a lesson.
I get a text, we need canned pumpkin. I tell her I'm gone. She asks, can you go back? No, I called you twice. Now my wife is mad at me because she has to go to the store herself. Marriage.
Your wife to tell you whether to get it or not? And you're a leader? Of what? No, he wanted to prove a point to her. This is what I was talking about. He wanted to teach her a lesson. What he was really mad about is that he called her a couple of times and she was too busy to talk to him. It's all because he wanted to teach her, when I call you, you better answer. These are the kind of men that I'm talking about, trying to teach you a lesson. This is not what marriage is like.
I'm so tired of seeing that pumpkin guy's face. And I hope to God his wife sees all of the stitches that women like her are doing. Go watch the whole video. It's linked in my caption. I want to talk about this through example. This has happened to me, and it's happened to plenty of women that I love. A man who will not stop calling you is an entitled, insecure king baby who is going to make you center him. Men are so much more intentional than we give them credit for. You know, we think that we've been told that we're the manipulative, calculated, whatever. It's them. I'm not saying that we don't do that, but it's a survival mechanism. And it's also like manipulation also is not always a bad thing. I have seen plenty of women, especially in my life, manipulate situations like for good. Like it's a superpower. You can use it for good or you can use it for evil. And women are so good at manipulating because that's literally how we have survived. It's how we got resources. It's how we stay alive when we're around men like that. Like that guy is, I can't imagine living with that man. He thinks it's so funny. Anyway, so someone that I love dearly, that is very close to me, has a king baby husband, and he calls her, it must be like 20 times a day. And I mean, and it actually hurts my feelings sometimes because I'm like, what? Like I can't have a conversation with her without her picking up when he calls, because he always calls every time I'm on the phone with her, unless he's sitting next to her. He probably calls in too. And I'm like, I've literally cried a couple times being like, can you just not pick up? He can wait. And she was like, no, he will not stop calling unless I answer. So let me just take this. It'll take 2 seconds. I'll call you right back. This is a huge red flag, y'all. Do not answer all their calls. You have a life. You are busy. This isn't about like playing games. It's about not being available for men all the time. But like one of the ways that we do not reinforce behavior that exploits us is to become unavailable. Oops, my phone was off. Now, if you have a man who's calling you that much at all in general, what are you doing? Please don't date that person. But let's say, I don't know, I believe that this man who calls the woman that I care about a lot, I believe part of it is ADHD. ADHD mixed with an enormous amount of entitlement, right? And as somebody with ADHD, I understand the impulse to just contact your partner all the time, every thought, But when you mix that with a man who feels incredibly entitled and feels like that a woman should be available to listen to all, to listen to all of his thoughts, you know, every thought. Look at that. Oh my God, I was thinking like, we're busy, especially if she has ADHD, right? Like I have ADHD. And, you know, my husband knows, like, do not interrupt this bubble that I'm in because it takes so much for me to get started again. Like, he's very respectful of my time and I'm respectful of his. He also has ADHD. If I see that he's, like, in the middle of something, I wait. This is what two adults do. But I'm telling you, so many men, because of their entitlement, and also if they are a narcissist or abusive or any of that stuff, they will expect you to answer every time they call. And honestly, at the end of my abusive relationship, I started to realize that this man had set me up for that from the very beginning. And that's why I'm telling y'all about this. When I look back, that I was always available, that I always answered, because when it finally escalated to like violence, you know, where I was actually really afraid, you better believe I always answered. I don't want to put this man in a bad mood. Not that I could, because he has control of his moods, and he uses, they weaponize their moods to control us. But, at that point in time, I was just like, Okay, like I couldn't get through a single class at the gym. Every time I left home to do something for me that was healthy for me, he'd blow up my phone. Blow up my phone. That is a huge red flag, y'all. But it's not just abusive men that do this. This is men who are entitled, who do not respect women as an individual person with her own wants and needs and thoughts and goals and life outside of him. He is going to expect her, when he calls, you better answer. And what that guy did is he just admitted out loud what a lot of us are suspicious of. But now we see when these men come on here and they actually say this stuff, we're like, oh, this is intentional. This is manipulation. Literally setting it up so that if we don't do something, there's a punishment. That's a test. And the more you pass his little tests, the more under his thumb you're going to be. But because women under patriarchy have been so conditioned and groomed to center men, and if they say jump, how high, right? They call, what? No, stop it. Stop answering when they call unless you're available and want to talk. This is some deep conditioning, y'all. When I first learned to not text back or not answer the phone, I was like, wow, this is like a whole new world. My time is my own. It should not be like this revolutionary, but this is how this is how it starts. This is a really important part of decentering men, is to stop centering their wants, their needs, their time, their commands. Stop trying to pass their tests. And if they have tests at all, get out, leave before you fall in love. Because whatever you were doing before that man called is just as important, if not more so, than what he was doing when he called you. And we have just not been taught to think that way. Center your time. Center your time, your energy. Because when you don't, you lose yourself. And then after 20 years of marriage, when you've given everything to this person, including children that you almost die having, he's going to leave you anyway and replace you with someone else who will center him. And some women end up being homeless. But just as bad as that is you won't even know who you are. Men who do that stuff like that rob us of our relationship with ourselves. And that to me is just as cruel as robbing us of money and anything else. We don't even know who we are. We are a shell of a human being when these men get done with us. And it starts with the little things. Please pay attention.